Hello, everyone. Neil from Book Bowl here, and good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on where you guys are in the world. If you could just do me a huge favor, real quick, drop a comment, make sure you can hear me. I think I have everything set up correctly. We'll give everyone a little bit of time to jump in here, make sure we're all good to go. I do see some comments already starting to come in, so appreciate you all showing up. Good morning, good morning. I can hear you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so we'll give everyone a few minutes to jump on here, but the way we usually structure these calls every single week is we're going to give everyone a little bit of time to get on, say hi to everyone, make sure everything is good to go, and then we're going to go through one by one. If you have any questions, concerns, you're getting stuck on anything with KDP, anything we can help you with, you're going to drop those comments questions rather in the comments section. I'm going to go one by one and answer them. If I miss your question, which every week, actually except for last week, I don't think I missed anyone, but I do not mean to miss anything on purpose, so just drop it again if I do not get to it. But typically I'm like way up in the chat and I'm scrolling down, so just let me know if that happens. Hello everyone, Agnes, Paul, Hazel, Karia, Sally, hello, hello, hello. How you guys doing? All right, so usually every week before we actually get into the questions, I bring up a low content niche. So that is what I've done as well. So we'll just go over that. I was inside of BookBolt in the cloud module. I was looking at 500 best trackers right here. Okay, so you can see some price information, some average sales rank, keywords. And what I typically do, because what most people do is they will run a search in the cloud and they'll look at just a couple of the top books. But what I like to do is scroll like way down here because most people are missing out on a lot of like lower content niches that might not sell 300 copies a day, but they're evergreen, which means they are going to sell year in and year out. So I found this one right here, okay, Dog Health Vaccine Record Book. Now that is a pretty populated niche, if you will. I did a search for dog vaccine record book, 617 results. That being said, every time we do these, I tell you guys to scroll down to the bottom, click on like the third page. You'll see that this quickly changes. But when I was doing my research and kind of poking around here, I came across this one right here, the Passport. Okay, so Passport. What I thought was really interesting about this is even if you kind of look at Amazon, you see right here I've searched for pet travel passport book, specifically for passport kind of travel notes for pets. Pretty low competition here. You can do that same little trick, which will bring one more result. But this looks like a fairly good niche. But what caught my eye on this one right here is it's actually bilingual. They're taking one niche. Okay, so this is the niche, dog vaccine record book, and they are combining it with different languages. You can see that it's priced a lot higher than average. It just got published this year. This feature of look inside is no longer available. Okay, just so we are all clear on that, but you can look through here and see, look, they have different spot for different languages. So if you speak multiple languages, I highly recommend looking into any niche that you're interested in, right? Because I know that this is a big thing in puzzle books and activity books, publishing in the US market, but with a different language, Spanish, German, French, Italian, you name it, people are buying those type of things. And that is going to make sure that the competition you're up against is extremely low. So just thought that was interesting. Thought I'd bring that up, show you guys. And yeah, let's get going. If you guys have any questions about KDP, you're getting stuck somewhere, drop them in the comments. I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top of these comments, and I'm going to start working my way through these. The entire goal of these calls is to get you over any hump that you might be running into, because the important part is research and having a good time and making sales and publishing on KDP, right? Like everything else might seem complicated, but I promise you it's really not, and we're all kind of at different stages of our publishing journey. So I'm going to scroll to the top here. Martin, we're having problems getting the cover of the book uploaded into Kindle. Everyone that has tutorials just says, okay, now I'm doing this, but the process is skipped. Okay, Martin, two things. Two things. The first is that you need an interior file. And I'm going to show you the easiest way that I know of to make sure that these actually upload to KDP properly. Okay, so we're going to come over to the home page of Bookbolt. We're going to go to the interior wizard and click on this big blue button. So for example, I'm going to just pick a college ruled paper. I'm going to select bleed. Okay, you want to select bleed so you don't run into any issues. Select a size. Okay, the sizing and this page count needs to match what you create for your cover. So if I pick bleed 6x9, 100 pages, actually that's 1090, 100 pages, click on download, you'll have this file right here. So you want to download this, save it to your computer. So this is 100 pages, it's a 6x9 with bleed. Next thing you want to do is come into Bookbolt, go to research, drop down menu, go to create, and then open up the Bookbolt designer. Okay, when you first come in here, you're going to see a page that looks like this. Select cover, select 6x9, select black and white with white paper. This one right here is tripping people up. If you select this one or any of these other ones, the interiors that you download may likely cause an issue. So black and white, white paper. Remember what we picked when we were over here? 100 pages. So 6x9, this matches with this. 100 pages is going to match with this. So we'll enter in 100, click submit, create your, book cover. This is just an example I have pulled up. Once you're done, you will want to come up here to download. Now you have two files. You have two PDF files, right? You'll have a cover page, so it'll have the front cover and the back cover in one file. You will have your interior page, which is 100 pages as the PDF. You'll go over to Amazon, you'll upload both of those, and during the upload process, you need to make sure you're picking a paperback book, not an ebook, not a hardcover book, paperback book. And then once you get to the process of uploading those files, you need to make sure everything matches in them. You need to make sure you're picking bleed. You need to make sure you're picking the right sizing. You need to make sure that this matches up with the cover you downloaded, which hopefully you've already done. And then you need to just pick, the cover. Is it going to be matte or is it going to be glossy? That actually doesn't matter. But once everything matches, you'll be able to open up the previewer and hit publish. So a little bit of a long explanation, but if you do that, you will be able to get a book up, no problem. Paul, hello, I've been at this for 2 weeks and completed the tutorials. What would help me is if someone could tell me time frames like cover creation, KDP upload, etc., so I could plan my free time appropriately. Thanks. So there's really no direct answer of like, you should be spending 47 minutes on this one task and you spend 3.5 minutes on this. It's going to be different for everyone, right? Like if you're creating an interior yourself, instead of clicking one button, 2 buttons, 3 buttons to get your interior, it's going to take a completely different amount of time than if someone was creating this from scratch, was customizing it. Same thing goes with your covers. But what I would recommend just as a broad strategy is spend about 80% of your time, kind of the 80-20 rule, on the research process. Okay, so if you are inside of Bookbolt, come up to the weekly calls, which is where you likely are, and scroll down to the bottom and go through these 2 seminars right here. They're a lot more in depth, but the reason I say spend most of your time on the research process is because if you can dig up those low content niches that are high demand but are also low competition, you're going to have a much, much better time selling on Amazon versus if you are just going in and being like, you know what, I want to create a Sudoku book. So you come over here, you type in Sudoku book, and you put one up in this niche. Now it says over 9,000, but again, there's this little trick where if you scroll down, you click on like the 3rd page. If you put up a book that you created in a few minutes in the Sudoku niche, you're going to be in for a very rough time unless you have very, very deep pockets or you have some other way to drive traffic to your listing. Okay? If you spend most of your time doing the research and digging up a niche that has low competition, so this number, personally, I like to look for anything under 1,000 results, but also has multiple products in that niche that are selling. That to me is gold. That means it's going to be a lot easier to make sales. It means there's going to be customer demand in that niche, especially if you see other books selling. You're going to have a lot better time. So 80-20 rule definitely applies. That's what I would recommend. You don't have to listen to that. That is just my opinion. Daisy, phew, I made it in the nick of time. Happy Thursday, Athena. Arthur, hello everyone from Kent, UK. Hazel, how you doing? Okay, whoa, scrolling down. Agnes, Paul, Hazel, Bunny Brown Jones, I hear you. Perfect, Sally, hello. Bunny Brown Jones. My friend created a cover for me. Do I just follow the instructions to upload it? Yes. So what you need to make sure of is, I don't know what kind of sizing your friend has created the cover for, but again, you really just need to make sure those few things line up. So the sizing needs to be in these sizes, right? And keep in mind, again, I don't know how they created this cover, but if you pick 6x9, you put 100 pages in here, the dimensions of the PDF that you upload to Amazon. So let's go back in here. We're talking about covers, right? If you put 100 pages in here, the dimensions of this 6x9 are going to be 100% different than if you came in here and put like 221. And the reason for that is because this spine right here is going to change because it has to in order to accommodate more or fewer pages. So you just need to make sure that that lines up with the interior that you have and that you are matching everything up on KDP. Athena, this is why I tune in every week. Paw Sport, who would have thought this? Yeah, Paw Sport, right? You know, it's funny because every time we do these calls, I get on maybe like, 30 minutes to an hour earlier, and I just start looking around for something that's new to me and hopefully new to you guys in a relatively familiar niche, right? Like, we're all familiar with dogs, but there's 1.5 million tiny different niches within the broad niche. HM, how can you make your low no content book complete and stand out now that look inside is going away, and Amazon no longer showing the back cover when you could put an example of your interior? Yep, so that's a problem. There's two ways that I've been recommending people kind of make their book stand out. The first is, just looking at this results page. The first is actually just taking a screenshot or example of the interior of your book and putting it where everyone's going to see it. And where is that? It's on the front page, or front cover rather, of your book, right? So like, at a glance, even though this is a sponsored product, I can see exactly what this is. I see it's a Sudoku, extra large print, and hey, here's an example of what it looks like. Same goes for this one. 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 Same goes for this one, right? So like this one, these are all fairly straightforward. So if you take examples from, bestsellers, right? So, I mean, let's go back to the front page here. Okay, so same thing for all these. These are sponsored products, see this? But look at how many reviews these guys have. Now, let's scroll down to the bestsellers that are not sponsored. Same exact thing, and they have hundreds of reviews, hundreds. So these guys are selling ridiculously well. I'm just pulling those ideas from the bestsellers. You're going to see this in every single niche. So that's number one, is put examples of what your interior is and just put that on the front cover of your book. Find a way to kind of show off that on the front cover. One, that's going to help once they're on an actual product page, right? They'll be able to be like, yeah, okay, I can make this a little bit bigger and look at the cover. But it's also going to show up on the actual search page, right? When someone's looking through here, they'll be able to see and know immediately, so you won't have to necessarily educate them on what you are actually selling. Most people are shopping with their eyes. They're looking at these images. They're not reading this, right? When I look at this, I see Sudoku, 1,000+ puzzles, and exactly what it is. I'm not reading the title, which is 1,000+ Sudoku puzzles for adults, a book for more, blah, 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 blah. I'm just not doing that. Most people don't. Some people do. But for the people that do, another way to help the end customer visualize what they're doing, and I think this book has it, yes, A+ content right here, okay? So if you don't know what A+ content is, it's basically just, pictures and images. It's more marketing content on the actual Amazon page. You can go to bookbolt.io, go to the blog and search for A+ content. We have a whole guide on how to set this up. Now, that being said, I would not recommend, and I keep saying this every time we do these live calls, I wouldn't recommend doing these on just like line pages, right? If this is the interior book, I would not bother. It's just wasted time. That's my opinion. You may want to try that out, so go for it. T-Test question. Can you go over Pixabay license? I spent significant time working in the book and now being told images can't be used. Sure, let me pull that up. Pixabay license. All right, bring that over. Boom. All right, so here's Pixabay, right? Simplified Pixabay license. Enables creators, protects our community, blah, blah, blah. What's allowed? All content can be used for free. for free for commercial and non-commercial use. So it's free for everything, right? Except in the cases mentioned and what's not allowed. Okay, so you can come down here. You can't distribute this stuff to sell as stock or as wallpaper. That's pretty easy. Don't sell unaltered copies of content. Don't sell exact copies of the photo, poster, print, or on a physical product. Okay, so when you're using this stuff, you need to actually create. You can't just take an image and paste it there and that's the entire product, is essentially what that's saying. Don't portray identifiable people. This is pretty straightforward, right? You can't use images of people. Amazon's going to have a problem with that. And don't use content with identifiable persons or brands to create a misleading association, blah, blah, blah. Don't use Nike. Don't use other people's images. So, yes, if you are using Pixabay to bring back a picture of a dog, make sure that you integrate that into an actual design, not just, hey, I'm going to slap a picture of a dog up there and that's the journal I'm selling, right? So, pretty straightforward there. Altering an image is not to be in breach of significant effort and not just changing colors or adding text. A ref has also advised that their images cannot be used for coloring books. Right, so here's the thing, right? Like if you bring up a picture of a dog, and let me move this over here. Let me just go to Pixabay, and I'm going to bring this right back. Boom, dog. Right, so like this right here. You can't just take this and slap it up on a book. Now, what you could do is you could outline this, and then it's a completely different image. You created it. You could put that in a coloring book, but you can't just put this, like remove the color and call it a coloring book. So that's the difference there. Do you know of any sites? Hold on. I think I missed one. Shira, how do I create a steno paperback book? Shiro, unless I'm missing something, I don't know what a steno paperback book is. So drop in the comments below. Maybe you can educate me on what that is, and then I can answer it. T-test question, do you know of any sites with free CCO images? Yes. That is called openclipart.org. This is what I typically... Let me bring this over here. This is what I typically recommend. There's like hundreds of thousands of images in here. And if we scroll to the bottom, and I'll just show you the license and why this is so great. Close this ad. And licensing. Can I use all of this clip art for commercial use? Okay. I feel like I read this every time, but this is an amazing website because it says, we try to make clear that you may use all of the clip art from the site for unlimited commercial use. We believe that giving away the images is a great way to share with the world our talents. It'll come back to us. This is the important part. That means that you may use the clip art commercially for education, for church, for school, for your job, or even to manufacture products globally. Now, we are not the manufacturer of the products, but essentially saying you can use any of this for anything you want. Awesome website. Again, I'm going to scroll back up here. openclipart.org. Shelly, oh, okay, hold on. I just lost my place. Shelly, when using the KDP extension for Chrome, after you hit start, where do the results go? I can't find them. So if you're just going to Amazon, and we'll just go to Amazon, we'll type in dog book. We'll open up the Chrome extension. We'll click on start, and these will then run through these. I'm going to stop this just so you can see it, right? And then you'll have these books show up here just like this. You can save them inside of a category inside of Bookbowl, or you can just sort these categories and look at, like what is actually selling. Let's see here. Carla, I see several vocabulary journals for specific grades without the words. So do you think it would be worthwhile to include the common words each grade needs for each level of book? Yeah, I mean, if the more specific you can get on a book cover, a book interior, as well as the title and subtitle of your book, the more hyper-targeted those products are going to be to your target audience. That is always, always a good thing. How do we know if we can use a phrase or something like a Bible quote? TJ, you'd want to look probably at the USPTO. Now, that being said, I'm not a lawyer. I can't give legal advice. Don't get me in trouble. But that being said, really the only thing that you can actually copyright or trademark, if you will, when it comes to books is series of books, right? Like, so if you're just using a random quote from the Bible, there are Bible open source Bibles. Let me just look this up. I know we talked about this a week or two ago. Let's see, copyright free Bible. All right, so all I did was a quick Google search. What Bible's on? This is our public domain, and here you have a bunch of different versions, if you will, that you should be able to use those in a book. Now, it really all comes down to, are you infringing on someone else's rights? Like, is there someone who owns the rights to, the normal Bible? Is there someone who owns the rights to Nike marketing? Well, yes, there is. Is there someone who owns the rights to Harry Potter? Of course there is. But is there someone that owns the rights to, okay, you're putting a quote in a journal page? More than likely, you're not going to have any issue at all. But again, you don't really want to skirt that line. Just make sure that whatever you're creating is your own work. If you're using a quote from somewhere, that should be totally fine. Let's see. Sally, is the estimated revenue number in KDP Spy a monthly number or total revenue since the publication date? That is a monthly revenue guesstimate based on the sales rank and how many times we think they are selling every month in the book category. Thanks for answering the questions. Absolutely, Paul. Suzanne, will you be covering making different multiple pages from the templates on BookBolt? Making different multiple pages. So if you're talking about these right here, we are so close on releasing a new platform that's going to make this a lot easier. Yes, we will be doing videos on that. And more than likely, I'm probably going to go over some of that next week on next week's live call. So make sure you guys join. It'll be probably same time, same day on Thursdays. I'd look out in your email either tomorrow or early next week. We're shooting for tomorrow, but it should be a very, very large announcement. Elizabeth, thanks. Of course. Shirley Jacobs, hello. Question, how to best design interior pages. They're all different. Right now I'm saving each page as a different 24-page file and then using the Interior Pro tool to select pages to assemble the book. T-Test, that is probably the easiest way right now. Not a good answer. I completely understand. We're going to fix that tomorrow or early next week when we release our new tool, which you'll all have access to, by the way. So HM, just an FYI, I tried to do landscape handwriting book. KDP told me they can't print an 8.5 by 11 landscape book this way. They can do other smaller sizes. Okay, that's good to know. I've never actually done any landscape books myself. Hazel, would you recommend Search Cloud or products in BookBolt for searching for a niche if limited for time? So I kind of do both, Hazel. So if you're limited for time, the easiest way to just get a broad understanding of, hey, what's selling, period, is just to go to the cloud, okay? Cloud module, pick a category. I usually put this at like top 500 because I like to look at everything. I usually keep the sales rank range and the price range the same. You can enter in keywords here. So if you're looking at like, hey, I'm looking at notebooks and which notebooks have dogs in them. So we'll just do that, right? I'll put in dog right here. I'll click on search. And you will see right here, very, very, very quickly, the top selling dog sort of notebooks, if you will. Now, if you're looking for more, specific, or you're just looking for in general, right? So if we come over to the product search, there's a general category. So it's not going to bring back just, notebooks or just coloring books. For specific keywords, you can enter in a keyword here, click search, and you'll be able to get a more granular view of, all right, what all is selling in this niche. And the reason I like this is because let's say I've dug up a low content niche. I have a keyword. I enter the keyword here in the general category. If I see maybe 2 to 3 other ones that are selling, maybe they're not best sellers, but they're selling, I know that there's demand in that niche, and then I will hop into it. Let's see. Thanks. Of course, Shirley, if you had scripture or affirmations online pages, should you show those pages as well? Shirley, I think you're talking about when I was talking about putting those on the I'm going to close some of this out. On the cover of your book, and if I'm correct, I'd only use like the main overarching niche. So, right, so like if you're looking at this as an example, let's go to this page, go back again, go back. Sudoku book, right? So I'm looking at Sudoku books. There's a ton of different Sudoku puzzles, right? But notice how each one of them has like the main overarching niche on the front page, right? So one Sudoku puzzle. In your case, if you're using different parts of the scripture, blah, 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 I would probably put the main, like, what's the focus of your interior if there is one, right? So if I go and type in like which coloring book and I look at this, these coloring books have tons of different pages, right? But they put the kind of main overarching niche or main design that they think looks the best on the cover, so you can kind of have an idea of what they're getting just by looking at the cover of the book. How do we copyright our books? So technically, there's a few things that, you know, can't be copywritten. You can't copyright line pages. You just can't. That being said, copyright is technically automatically granted when you publish something. If you have done something and created it yourself, you can also go to the government and pay them money to actually copyright different types of designs, and necessarily wouldn't be the book, but the design itself. Probably would only recommend that if you've created something super unique and you are making a ton of sales with it. Otherwise, it's a huge, huge headache. Again, not a lawyer. If you want to copyright something, I'd pay for like 1 hour of time from a copyright attorney. That would probably be your best bet to get accurate information. Wealth with Athena, can you use a picture of yourself if you wanted to? I have I've not attempted that. You could try. You could, I don't see why not. That being said, I know that Amazon in the past, someone put my face on a t-shirt. Now, this is a different kind of thing, not a book, but they did have a problem with that. So to answer your question, I don't know. 6x9 spiral bound book, top is spiral bound. HM, Amazon doesn't have spiral bound books to my knowledge. I don't have access to them. Most people I know don't have access. I don't think they sell them through the KDP platform. You can always go find a publisher yourself and then list that book on Amazon. I wish I had a better answer for you because spiral bound books would be awesome, but I don't think they offer them. Wealth for Athena, steno is for shorthand if I'm correct. Yeah, okay. Are we able to pay our membership via PayPal? Arthur, no. Any kind of, major credit card or debit card will work after your trial period, but no, we do not have PayPal. Rand, how rad is that? Shira, hi Neil, a book that has a wired bend paperback. Yeah, so yeah, KDP does not currently offer that. It's going to be paperback. It's going to be hardcover. They also offer ebooks, but we don't really talk about those because we're selling books that people actually interact with. They take a pencil, a pen, a paintbrush, something, and they actually, use the physical book. The things that we're talking about don't really work for ebooks. Designing interior pages yourself, not templates. Yes. So I did understand you correctly, T-Test. We're going to be going into that once we launch the new tool. M-Star, good morning. I've just started out with low content books. Could you please recommend a good place to start? What style, type of book to begin creating? Okay, you're going to go into BookBolt. You're going to go to weekly calls. And you need to watch these two videos. They're long. I know they're long, but they're going to basically run you through the entire process so that you have a good understanding of where to start, what to do, what to look for. And once you have gone through these, everything else is going to be a lot more clear. Drat, Time Goof just got on. Martin, no problem. We hold these every week, so you just join next week, and it looks like you're here now, so all good. How much does it cost to attach this to Amazon? Please and thanks. John, what are you talking about with attach this to Amazon? KDP, completely free. You just need to upload some PDF files. Bunny Brown Jones, in a 60-page line journal, can I create a separate formatted document with the sentence to begin every other page, 2 pages for customer to write entries, and upload it as the interior design? So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're going to have 60 pages of line pages, and you want to have separate pages every couple of pages that have, a blank spot to write or something like that. Fairly easy to do. It's going to be easier in a few days, but the way you do that now is you'd come to our homepage. Okay, you'd go to the PDF combiner. You'd want to upload the pages that you created separately that have your own writing on them, and then you just come in here, you'd select bleed, you'd select the size you're doing, and then you'd build them out. So you'd be like, all right, for the first page, I want college ruled. For the next 2 pages, I want this, and then on the 4th page, if you had gone to the upload tab and uploaded your own, you would see all of those at the very beginning. So let's just say, for example, this music sheet is the one you uploaded, so you'd want that. You'd build out your entire template, and then you would download it, and then you'd have one PDF file because you need one file to upload to Amazon, and then you would head over to Amazon and upload your book. Question, is there a way to do left-handed books? No, there is not to my knowledge. I've never actually used a left-handed book. I know someone else, maybe it was you, I don't know, asked about that last week, but no, I don't think there is. Hazel, is it possible to trace an item in the Book Bolt Designer? No, it is not possible to trace an item. That being said, well, okay, technically, yes, it is possible. You can come in here and you can go to drawing, but I'm not a very good artist. Let's just put it that way. You can come in here, select a color, let's say it's blue, and draw whatever you want. But again, not a designer, so I would not be able to show that off very well. Thank you, Neil. Yes, Sparrowbound book. Yep, not possible right now, unfortunately. Sarah Allen, what's most important in ranking, sales or reviews? Of course, reviews will improve sales, but if I'm investing to drive ranking, what am I focusing on? You're going to focus on sales. Okay, so think about this from Amazon's perspective, right? Let's say you have 2 books from maybe 2 separate authors. One book has 1,000 reviews, but hasn't sold in a week. Another book has 1,000 sales yesterday, but has no reviews. Amazon is going to prioritize showing the book with no reviews because they're making more money because it's selling so well. So reviews are really, really, really great for, if you're coming over to Amazon here and you're looking through this, it's great for showing the customer on the other side of the screen, like, yes, there's social proof that other people like this. I know many people who, if something doesn't have a review or it has like one bad review, they will instantly not buy it. Okay. But it's kind of a 2-part thing because, yes, it does help with sales and, yes, it does help with ranking, but Amazon's always going to prioritize the books that are making them the most money, that people are either happy with or at least not complaining about. If you have a book that made 1,000 sales and you have, 500 1-star reviews, they're not going to show your book anymore because that reflects badly on them. So sales first. Once you get sales, reviews will naturally come. Hopefully they're good. And then both of those, once you have both, pretty much made it for that book, right? Once you have a couple hundred reviews like this, even 39 reviews, right? 5 stars. And look, like this one has 1 bad review. So let's open that one up and just see if it says anything, right? So I can go to the ratings. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down because that didn't work. Ratings. 1 star, and they didn't actually write anything here. So, what are you going to do? But once you have both, you're basically going to have continuous sales. But if you're going to focus on one thing, focus on sales first. Reviews will naturally come from those sales. Okay, let's see. John, I was under the impression that we needed a seller's account to sell this on Amazon. No, you need a KDP account. So just go to Google, type in Amazon KDP login or account. They have a sign up button. You basically sign up completely free. What you'll need to do is fill out your tax forms, right? So you'll give them your name, you'll give them the account that you want to be paid into, you'll fill out a quick tax form, and then you're ready to go. Very, very, very easy. And it's free. You don't have to pay anything for it. Let's see here. Thanks, of course. Martin, where do you get these cool graphics? Which cool graphics are we talking about? So a few places. If you're coming in here, this background that I got here was from either Open Clip Art. I don't really remember where I got these right here. So if we just go to images, you'll see a few I've just uploaded. These 3 right here, as you can see, that I just slapped on as an example. This isn't a real actual book cover. These are screenshots. I literally just took a screenshot, downloaded it to the computer, and uploaded it. So you can just drag all of those into the images folder right here. Another place you can go is, I think we just talked about this, openclipart.org. All right, so if you want a picture of a dog, you can just go over here, and they have a bunch of them with some ads here. So let's go to the next page. All right, so I just typed in, you have tons of different, 41 pages of stuff that you can use to create whatever you're looking to create. Test, will your new interior design tool allow you to edit templates? So yes, you are going to be able to edit templates. I'm going to show that off once we launch it. Okay, I don't want to talk too much about it because we're just finishing up the final little touches here. But the answer to your question is yes. We also have some other templates in there as well. Could you describe the new update to the platform a bit? So Paul, this designer right here, we built it. It served its purpose. But how I keep, every time we do these live calls, I don't know if this is the first time you've joined or not, we keep bouncing around to the PDF combiner, to the interiors. We're trying to jump back and forth and create custom pages. We're going to roll all of that into one single platform that's going to be much, much, much more intuitive to use, easy to use, and you're going to have a lot more customization options. I believe you can make left-handed book. If you search KDP cover template, you have an option to download a template that's left-handed. Raider, that's awesome to know. I'm going to have to look into that because I've literally never created one, and this is the second week I've got a question about that, which sometimes I don't know the answer, guys, and I'm fairly transparent about that. Changing fonts, layouts, etc. Absolutely. How can we see our sales? Martin, you want to log into your KDP account and look at your dashboard. Now, again, if you're inside of your dashboard and let's just say someone just bought a book from you that it might not show up right away, right? There is a little bit of a lag time there depending on a bunch of different factors. Paul, I do some photography of flowers and would like to use my photos of images. Anything I should worry about? If you took the picture, there is nothing to worry about at all. So I'd absolutely do that. I mean, you literally have created the asset, if you will, for your business, aka the photograph of the flower. I'd absolutely use that, right? You could use it on a book cover. You could put it in the background of a template and kind of like make it transparent to kind of boost your whatever you're making. Is it a line page? A line page would look a hell of a lot better with like some sort of very transparent background. It just looks better. Maybe you want to do outlines of flowers, create coloring books. Maybe you want to, create some activity books and kind of put some stuff in the corner. There's so much you can do, especially if you have those design assets. Lena B. I really hate that they took away the feature to look inside and the back cover. I'm okay with not having an ISBN, but you really have to write a really good description of your book to sell. Yeah, it is unfortunate that they took away the look inside, and I know a lot of these videos that I do, I'm always clicking on these, right? So like I'll click on this, and it's just so much easier to be able to click on this and look inside. Modern Witch coloring book, right? And here we go. I can see exactly what's going on. Now, that being said, right, I have never spoken to a buyer that has bought a book online, right? So, like, let's just go up here and type in Harry Potter, right? I don't even know if they have a look inside feature. Sponsored, sponsored, sponsored. This is a video, Harry Potter book. Let's have a look here, right? It's okay, box set, or here we go, book one. Here's book one. I want it as a paperback book. All right, so here we go. Paperback book, published. Oh my God, was this book really published in '98? All right, well, we won't say anything about that. But I haven't met anyone as a buyer, right, who's like, okay, I'm gonna buy a book. I'm gonna look at the title of the book, but mainly I'm just going to look at the cover. Now, I don't know anyone who comes in here and actually goes like, all right, look at this interior page here of the book. Yeah, there's people who definitely do. But I think with Amazon removing that look inside feature, we just have to spend a little bit more time on the actual cover of the book and make sure that our stuff stands out. Number one, and number two, that we can actually, give them some idea of what the book is at a glance by either looking at the cover or the title. Because if you come in, and I don't have an example like readily available, but if you come in and your title and subtitle is like, 100 characters long, no one's going to read that. It's going to look horrible. They're not going to be able to quickly ascertain what you're selling, and that is never, ever a good sign. So basically, long-winded version to say focus a little bit more on your cover, add some screenshots where it makes sense, and, we have to make the best of it. How do we make a mock-up picture for our books for A+ content? So you can, I believe Placeit has some free book templates for mock-ups. I might be wrong on that, but go check that out. That might work. Otherwise, I personally just have a designer who does it for me. So I know that's not the best answer, but that's what I do. Gonti Murdy, hi about Book Bolt. When you launch, will this new tool be included? Absolutely, it's going to be included. What the new tool is essentially we are going to be replacing our designer with something a lot better for you guys. It'll be a lot faster, have so many more editing and options and customizations. You're going to be really happy with it. We put a lot of work on it. I've already created a bunch of videos for it, and we're going to be going over that probably next week on the live call so that you guys can, play around with me as I do it. But we're going to wait till that is launched, and then we will talk about it. Sheila, regarding my earlier question, when using the KDP extension for Chrome, after you hit start, if I don't stop the search, the results go away and I cannot find them. Sheila, just open it back up again. What's more than likely happening if this little thing removes itself, essentially, from the screen, is what happens when you run the extension is going to cycle through the pages, right? So it's going to go through all the pages until it reaches a couple hundred results, or it's like 100, 120. The reason we do that is so that you don't get hit with CAPTCHAs on Amazon. But if it's closing itself, turn off your other extensions that you may have on Chrome. Something is probably not playing nice with the extension and causing it to close itself, if you will. Let's see. Olivia, my first time attending and I'm learning so much. Awesome. I'm new to all this, so I'm getting a lot of good info. Thank you, of course. Yeah, that's the reason we hold these, right? So like if you're starting and you've never uploaded a book before, or you've been doing this for 3, 4, 5, 6, KDP's been around for a long time. Maybe you've been, I've had my KDP account since 2012, maybe. Everyone's at a different part of the process, right? There's always things to be learned. The basics are just that. They're fairly basic, but there's always things that we can test and talk about and new niches to uncover. So that's why we hold these calls, and I'm glad you find them helpful. Sheila, does this mean we will always have to stop the search before it finishes the page? No, I just answered that, so sorry about that. I didn't see your second question. Do you think BookBolt may ever consider audiobook creation? Arthur, more than likely not. The reason for that is audiobooks are much more involved. That being said, I have published a few audiobooks. Great learning experience, if you will. But for everyone else that is listening here, when you publish a book, right, you need two pieces. You need the interior PDF file, you need a cover PDF file, and you need to upload those to Amazon. That's literally it. When it comes to doing an audiobook, you have to have a written book. No one can, put audio over a coloring book. Doesn't work that way. So you actually have to write a real book. That takes forever. You might be faster than me, but it took me quite a while to write a real book. Once you write a book, you got to put it up on Amazon. Then you have to create an account through what's called ACX, another Amazon arm. Once you've done that, you have to link them up, and then you actually have to get some audio over your written book. Now, if you're like me, you don't want to sit there and read 500 pages of stuff that you've written out loud, in a nice professional radio voice, which I don't have, right? I have a very nasally, horrible sounding voice. I get it. So then you have to go through and you actually have to hire someone to talk over your book, which costs money, right? So it's and then that takes a while, and then once you get it back, you have to greenlight that. It's a big process. It works. There's a lot of money to be made on Audible, but I find low content books, like we go over each week, a lot more fun and a lot faster. T-Test, how do you create outline pages for coloring books that still has some some or all of the image interior, i.e. the face of an animal or details of flowers. T-test, I don't personally know how to do that. The reason for that is because for all the coloring books I have, I hired a designer on Upwork, and I pay them per design per page, and I kind of just give them some direction, if you will. My art skills are lacking. I can say that very confidently. So if you are in the same boat, I would highly recommend looking for, and yes, it is a bit of an investment. It's a bit of a time outlay because you have to find some people. You have to go through portfolios, make sure it's a good fit. I'm telling you, it's worth it if you're willing to go down that route. Gonti, thank you. Of course, Athena Paul, I keep a copy of the original photo information. I had a problem with Amazon challenging a photo created. I still have info on the file. I sent it to them. They finally okayed it. Absolutely, Athena, that's a good point, especially if you're using your own art that you have created or taken pictures of. Always make sure you have the originals of those. Is it possible to watch the earlier live weekly webinars? Due to timing and my health, it's not always possible to attend live calls. Would love a link to the early recordings. Gonti, absolutely. So if you come into BookBolt, you'll see at the top of the screen, you see weekly calls. If you don't see this, it's probably under your name, depending on how big your screen is. So you'll click that, and they are all going to be on this page. So right here, this is the one. If I click play, I hear myself talking right now. All of these are all the weekly calls we've done, which, we're building up quite a library. Quite a library of, they're all about an hour long too, so you don't have to sit here and watch them. But if you miss something, you're looking for something in particular, you want to put this on in the background, be my guest. They're all right here, and then we have two longer form seminars at the bottom. Still very, very good information. Let's see, Susan Bolin, just found you 3 days ago. You uploaded my first content book yesterday. Emphasis on the low content. Awesome. See, I so many people will find the low content book kind of niche. Maybe they found me talking on YouTube, maybe they found someone else, maybe they read a post about it, and then that's about as far as they get, right? They'll read something, and then they'll be like, I need to watch another video. I need to read another blog post. And it just keeps going on and on and on. And it's just so much better to, you read something, you watch something, you hear something. And that's why we do these calls. I want you to hear something that you need to hear and then go take action on it. It's the only way to actually get ahead. So kudos to you for publishing that book. Keep going. Arthur, has there been any feedback for hiring a Fiverr person for help with BookBolt? Arthur, let's see, hiring a Fiverr person. I personally am not a huge fan of Fiverr. Hire most of the designers that we have either in-house or through Upwork. Just a lot more control, a lot more communication that way. Shirley, I've written about 30 books. Most are on Amazon. Thank you so much for your time. This is my first training. Awesome. 30 books is cool. Are those low content or are those like high content books? The reason I ask is I have done both. Low content, much easier, much faster, but high content is, it's a lot more, how do I say this? It's like a lot more time involved, so you feel a little bit more connected with each product, if you will. How do you connect the dot pages? T-test, you want to do that inside of PuzzleWiz. Essentially what you do is just upload an image, and then you would click around the image, and then when you download it, all you're going to have is the dots left over. Lena, do you offer one-on-one critique review services or just recommend finding someone on Fiverr? Lena, I honestly, number one, no, we don't, and there's a good reason for that, right? You'd be wasting your money. You'd be wasting your time as well. That being said, okay, you don't need to pay someone to look at your book. I mean, you probably know someone out there who is willing to tell you how it is, right? And all you have to do is ask. It takes 5 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever the number is. There's tons of Facebook groups around this. You can go in and simply, if you wanted to, you're going to show the niche you're working in, but just ask people, communicate with them. That's really what sales is, right? Is getting feedback from other human beings. So I personally would not recommend that you find someone on Fiverr to critique your book, because at the end of the day, if they run a critiquing service, all they're going to do is spitball the same stuff to 100 people and call it a day. NMC's World. If I had not joined this call today, I would not have realized that the look inside feature was intentionally disabled. I actually called them today. Yeah, so the look inside, so with the ISBN change and the low content button they added, pretty much gone for all of the low content books we're creating. That being said, it doesn't count for coloring books, activity books, puzzle books, stuff like that. Just so we're clear, this is a relatively new thing, and I know that I've heard, hey, there's no look inside on my coloring book, or different things. I think KDP, their team, if you will, still trying to figure out their own policies. Try not to fault them too much for that, but, they've been around for a while. It's getting a little bit better, but unfortunately, yes, the look inside for your low content stuff like line journals is gone. Thank you again. Of course, any thoughts for using materials in the public domain? Arthur, what are you talking about? Are you talking about, like long form books, like novels, really, really old ones? Wouldn't really bother with that. You're not going to see much of anything there. If you're talking about images, anything in the public domain, that has a commercially free license that you think people would interact with and be interested in buying, I would absolutely look into that and add that to your covers or kind of spice up some interiors. High content. Awesome. 30 books of high content. That's really good. That is really good. 30, let's see. Thanks for your time today. Of course, Paul. Awesome. Shirley. Gonti. Black and white or coloring book. What is the best number of pages? There's always a sweet spot. I'm thinking 110 for black and white. How many pages for coloring books? Totally depends, right? So it's going to depend on the niche. So if the niche you're going into and researching, every single book is 25 pages. And you're like, well, I'm going to put a coloring book out that has 500 pages. And, because it's 500 pages, you're going to have to price it a lot higher. Well, now there's a problem because the market is telling you that everyone in that niche is buying 25-page books. But you just came out with this gargantuan 500-pager that's priced, 10 times above average. So I would just look at the research, right? So I typed in which coloring book. I'm just going to do this on Amazon. Okay, I've opened up 4 of them. And I'm going to scroll down here. This one, 64 pages. Okay, this one, 70 pages. This one, 112. And this one is 105, right? So we went from 112 was the highest, 64 is the smallest. Then I would take a look. Hey, are people buying these? Yes, 11 people bought this one. Not the best. This one's 70 pages. At least 48 people bought this one. A little bit better. Okay, 6 ratings, 112, and 129 for 105. So this is the most reviewed book. 129 ratings. It's priced pretty well, pretty high, but pretty well for a coloring book. I would probably price around, if I was going into this niche without doing any more research, and again, I just looked at this for 10 seconds, around 100 pages. Okay, so that's kind of what you want to do. You want to let the market tell you what it wants, and the market is telling us just by looking at 4 books. Again, you'd want to dig a little bit deeper, about 100 pages. That's awesome. Thank you. Yep. From a few YouTube videos, I just created a low content journal. What do you think is my next step? Repeat low contact. I think you mean content for a while, or move to higher content. So Thelma, there's really no right answer to that. If you liked the low content thing, I would keep doing low content. Like, just 1.5 million different types of low content, right? I mean, just looking at some of these interiors we have. Let me just come back here, resources, interior wizard. If you just look at this, you can do, just interiors that are college rule, journals, music, bills, careers, home to-dos, monthly to-dos, mood tracker, right? Like, there's so many different types of kind of low content you can do and then focus on your cover. Okay, so that's one option. You can always publish high content books. That's going to be completely different than what we're talking about here. Also an option, right? I'm not going to tell anyone not to do that. It's fairly fun. I've published some high content books. Also, right, maybe you want to go with some higher barrier to entry low content books, just like we're talking about here. Coloring books, activity books, puzzle books. They're all going to have a niche. They're mostly all going to have buyers in them. You want to do that research and figure out, 1, what you like to do. Number 2, put up some books, keep doing this day in and day out. Eventually, you're going to start making some sales. Once you make those sales, look at where you actually had the success and do more of that, right? Like, that's the easiest research you'll ever do. Hey, I have 50 books up. These 10 are making most of the sales. Well, logic says do more of those type of 10 books that you are making sales on. So really, really up to you. There's no specific direction that I'm going to push you in one way or another. You personally make more on your low content books or the high content books? Me personally, low content books, and the only reason for that is I only have a couple of high content books because they take forever. Low content books, much easier. Coloring books, higher barrier to entry, but again, me personally, I am actually paying for the coloring book pages. So really, all I'm doing is the research. I direct the designer to create what I want, and then I publish it, run ads to it, all that good stuff. And these, the higher content, if you will, activity, puzzle, and coloring books bring in quite a bit of money. How do I make a multi-pale for my interior? Martin, can you rephrase that? I don't know what you're trying to say. T-Test, KDP charges $215 per black and white for 108 pages and less. Yep. Or rate goes up slightly after that. Yes. And again, I should mention it's not that they charge you $2.15 like, hey, it's a credit card charge, right? Like, okay, someone wants to buy your book, they're going to ding you for $2. They're going to just take that out and pay you a royalty at the end. That's just their printing cost. And then you get paid a royalty at the end. It's not like they're charging your credit card each time you get a sale. Previously, they allowed us to put the low-content books in 10 different categories, which are the categories we can put the low-content books in with the new guidelines. So, Gonti, I've not actually reached out to them on this yet. The 10 different categories thing was if you contacted them at the bottom of the KDP page and then requested you to be put into multiple categories, multiple other categories, if you will. I don't think that's changed, but I haven't done it in a few months, so I'm not sure. But if you're looking just for the general categories you can select on KDP, again, come into BookBolt, left-hand side, KDP categories. You want to type in the broad niche. So if I just type in animal type search, you'll see at a glance and be able to figure out which one most closely relates to your low content or even high content book. So you don't have to go through that horrible category tree that they show you in KDP that looks like it's from the 80s. Easiest way to do that is just come in here again, BookBolt and KDP categories on the left. Let's see here. Thank you, of course. Shira, hi again, Neil. So is the coloring book bleed or no bleed? Depends on how you are creating your files. I always pretty much do bleed interiors just so everything works correctly. It probably should be bleed for coloring books anyways, because they're more than likely not stretching all the way out to the edge of your page. Martin, sorry, multi-page file for my interior pages. I tried to upload one and it said it's only one page and it need more. So Martin, you need to have, I think it's 24 at a minimum, pages that are in one PDF file on to upload to Amazon KDP. So to do that, you'd want to come to BookBolt. You want to go to the PDF combiner. You would then upload the ones that you've created yourself, or you can just come in here to the interior section based on the templates we have and build out at least 24 pages that will download as one PDF, and you can upload that one PDF to Amazon. Does KDP charge less for black and white cover than cover with color? No. The cover doesn't really matter. It's the interior. If you have a bunch of color on the interior, it's very, very, very expensive. Bunny Brown Jones, lifetime BookBolt membership, truly one-time cost. Yes, it is. If you see that, yes. I'm not trying to trick anyone there. Thank you for that information. Arthur, just received in my email how to create custom puzzle activity books to sell on KDP. I'll be exploring this with BookBolt. Yep, I believe that was part of the newsletter we sent out. So again, guys, the a lot of this stuff, I'm gonna close. I have so many tabs open. Sorry, guys. If you're ever just looking for more information on something about KDP, you don't want to actually listen to me blab on about it, if you go to bookbolt.io, click on the blog, there is a very, very, very good chance that we have written about it, right? I mean, there's so there are so many articles in here, A+ content. There's stuff about running ads. There's stuff about converting, t-shirt files if you're into that. Pretty much anything that you want to know, I've written about in KDP. Now, if I haven't, and you want me to write about it, we're always looking for ideas. So you can drop that to me in a comment on the blog or something like that, and we'll see if we can create it. But again, I know I reference the blog a lot when it comes to selling on KDP, doing these videos, things I've talked about in the past. You want to read through this if you have any questions. Super, super, super helpful. Not sure if you've covered this before, Lena, but are recipes copywritten? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't want to give you the wrong information off the top of my head, but from what I know, some are and some are not, right? So I don't think you can copyright a recipe that has put 2 ingredients together. Well, yeah, no kidding. I don't want to give you the wrong information. So I've never actually filled out and published a recipe book that had all of the recipes in it. I've done blank recipe books, or I've done partial recipe books where it's okay, here's just to give you a random off the head example, kind of like a pasta journal where it's use this pasta, use this sauce, and then there'll be a spot for, okay, this is the toppings and here's the notes section and blah, 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 right? I've done stuff like that before, but that's not really a full recipe, so I'm not really sure how to answer that one. All right, guys, looks like we have just crested an hour, and there's a bunch of people on this call, so thank you so much for showing up. I am going to take some last-minute questions if you have them. So I know there's a little bit of a lag here, so if you have any last-minute questions, drop them below. Otherwise, we will be back next week. Hopefully, we see you guys there, but thank you again so much for sticking around to the end. I really do appreciate it. Shirley, I'm working on a recipe for vegan and vegetarian dishes. Yeah, there's so many different recipe books out there. I can't imagine that you can copyright an ingredient list. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not probably the right one to ask that. As long as you can rewrite the recipe and not use the same title as what the user recipes are not copyrighted unless you copy verbatim. Yeah, Gonti, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. But again, I've not done them, so I probably should not be answering that question. How many books have you created? I have literally created thousands of books. I mean, I've been doing KDP for 2012. That's 10 years. I've been doing KDP for 10 years, right? It's a lot. But you have probably not been doing KDP for 10 years. So comparing yourself to me or anyone else in the chat, it doesn't make any sense, right? Your competition is essentially yourself. And as long as you're working on the business and trying to improve every day, that is literally all you can ask of yourself. Thank you for your feedback, of course. Thanks, Neil. Yep, thank you very much. Thank you. Cool. Thanks. All right, guys. I don't see any more questions, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you again so much for sticking around to the end. We're going to be back next week, same time, same place, and I'm really hoping we can show off the new tool then. So make sure you guys join again next week. I'll be sending out an email. Hopefully you got a bunch of value out of this video. You can rewatch that inside of BookBolt on this weekly calls menu at the top. It'll be right here if you missed anything, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks.